Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Heather Frierson, and I'm your host of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have Dr. Aaron Alley, CEO and co-founder of Med to Market. And he's going to be sharing all about his journey to business ownership, best practices, and really just share a sneak peek of what it's like to own and operate a business, which you'll find is a little bit different than most, but nonetheless, we're going to get some good tools and tips from him for sure. So if this is your first time to the show, be sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. Well, Dr. Aaron, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks, Heather. Happy to be here. Appreciate you for getting me on your podcast.
For sure. Well, I can't wait to dive in. And so if you just want to set the stage for us and give us a little bit of a background about who you are and about Med to Market.
Sure. So I'm a practicing anesthesiologist. I've been here in Texas since 1978. I'm just a Texas kiddo. I went to Texas high school, Texas A&M for undergrad, University of Texas for medical school, went to Duke University for my anesthesiology residency, and then came back to Texas to practice. I've been practicing here in Texas since 2004.
Okay.
So hence the gray beard, and I'm getting older. I used to think I was young and good looking. I'm just old. But in the process of healthcare all these years, I played a lot of sports when I was younger, and sports and medicine and correlate a lot to me. You have to practice, you have to try, you have to continue pushing yourself every day to be the best of the best. You don't have Super Bowl quarterbacks that win 5 Super Bowl championships for not practicing and not getting ready for the big game on
Right.
Sundays. You're like a Tom Brady. So I look at our physicians as the same thing. You got to practice, you got to work hard, you got to be that person that's always pushing the envelope to be the best surgeon, be the best physician out there. But what I noticed very quickly is when you finish your residency program, that's where you go to be a pediatrician or an anesthesiologist or a cardiothoracic surgeon. And then you become that type of doctor. Once you finish residency, we call it a practice on purpose because we're practicing on you guys. There's no more real training. We go to these conferences that are very passive and you listen to someone really cool speak, but at the end of the day, and speech are so much. It's not true. Get your hands on something. There's a lot of groups that do high fidelity simulators, which are awesome. You put a VR helmet on and you're like doing cool Star Trek stuff. But real tissue is real tissue. And I consider that the last mile of training. So we built one of the largest privately owned BioSkills training facilities where you actually practice on cadavers, on the newest techniques, the newest devices, the newest procedures, because otherwise the surgeons aren't going to learn it and they're going to try it on you for the first time in the operating, which I think is a really bad idea. And so that's how it all came about. And that's where we are. 2011 is when we started. So 13 years now that we've pushed hard to get to where we're at.
I'm still catching my breath a little bit, as I'm sure maybe some are, because I've had surgery before, anything from babies, etc. And I've never really thought about it like that. That the only time doctors practice after school is on you. So that is very interesting. And thanks for catching that, I would say,
Yeah.
Dr. Aaron. Thanks for catching
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because you're taught at the best universities, the best medical centers, and you're excellent when you get out. You're on top of your game. But as much as technology changes, as you and I have seen what the iPhone's done in the last 10 or 15 years, what computers have done in AI, within 2 to 3 years, you're obsolete as to the newest innovations that are coming out and how to use them. The joke was in the old days, you'd walk up to an orthopedic surgeon and you'd give him a new screw to be able to put a plate in your broken bone to kind of put your bones back together. You need a plate and screws. And it was like, here's a new screw. It's still righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. And that's all you had to teach them in the hallway. It's pretty simple. Now you have a robotics platform. You're actually sitting in the corner of the room and you're doing a total knee replacement under a hood. You need to be FDA certified to run this robotics platform on this person's total knee replacement. And so the training of that doesn't happen back at the medical schools. Like if I called Duke back up and said, hey, I want to do some training, they're just going to laugh at me and say, buddy, you've already graduated. We're working with our newest residents and we don't have time for you. So there's a misconception that the medical schools and the universities and the residency programs continue training their doctors once they're out. Absolutely not. It's actually BioSkills facilities like Med to Market and the big medical device companies like Stryker or Abbott who fly their surgeons into us.
Hmm.
We put the cadavers out. We have all the equipment. They bring
Wait,
all the
they fly
new.
them into you to med to
Yeah,
market.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. We have, as a matter of fact, this Friday we have 200 ENT residents and fellows coming from all around the world here to Austin, Texas, to our facility to stay for 3 nights. So there's a big
Wow.
economic impact we make to the hotels and bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
And then they come here and we literally will have 60 cadavers out because we're one of the largest facilities in the world. Most places can't handle more than 10 or 15 cadavers at a time. And they literally are doing these sleep apnea procedures on these cadavers to learn because they're doing full dissections of the neck and the chest. And then they will be practicing this on real patients within the next couple of months because they graduate end of June. So a couple of months, they're going to be out in private practice working on us. And if they haven't practiced this and done it enough and been certified, they either won't do it or B, they'll try to do it without the certification and hurt someone. So it's pretty crucial. Everybody wins here in this process, right?
Yes,
The surgeon gets better, the
for
patients get
sure.
better care, the device companies move another unit, so they make money. We do great because they're coming in here to Austin, and it's a win-win kind of company, and I love that about our company.
There's so many things going through my head. Some I don't think are like, where did the cadavers? How do you get that? Like all these things. I'm like, oh my gosh. But my biggest question is, I know the why you started it, which is incredible. How did you think of this? Were you in surgery one day? Was it, God forbid, something you saw, but just over time? How did you think about this? And then what steps did you take to move forward?
Sure. Yeah, there was a couple things that got us going. One is, as an anesthesiologist, I get to work with all different types of surgeons, right? I might be with an obstetrician one morning, and then that afternoon I'm with an orthopedic surgeon, and by evening I'm with a neurosurgeon doing a brain trauma or something, right? So you get to see everybody in their
Mm,
practice, and you will see some very gifted surgeons like, and I have my list. It's almost like, who would I go to if I got hurt? You know, if my
hmm
kid got hurt, if my spouse got hurt,
mm,
I know exactly who to go to. But then I'm also like, I know who not to go to because you see them practicing also. And it's just like anything else. You take a football team in high school and you got your gifted players, you got your not so gifted players, you got your second stringers, but they're all still on the football team, right? And same with doctors. As long as you got a C minus and above, you can still get the MD. And as long as you go to a residency, you're still going to become a pediatric cardiologist. And so whether you're an A minus, A plus, or C minus, nobody knows, right? And so it's hard to tell the gifted from the not so gifted. And the reviews you see online usually is
hmm
bedside manners. I could be sweet and kind to you bedside manner and have the worst hands ever and mess everything of the surgery up.
hmm
So when I saw more and more surgeons struggling in the operating room and not having that Tom Brady-ness to them, or that Pele, or pick a sports athlete
hmm
that's amazing, the Michael Jordan, just elegant, can do it, just not even a problem for them. And you throw something new at them and boom, they've got it. Most people are not like that. Most surgeons, I'd say probably 30-40% of them are not that gifted. And so they need to continue practicing. Not that they're not good, they just need to
Right.
practice more than others, right? And so when I saw that, I was like, wow, where can this surgeon of mine go? He's a great friend of mine. He's a buddy. We go out and have drinks together. He knows my
hmm
family. How can I make him or her better? And there was
Wow.
really no place. And there was some conferences, convention centers, hotel ballrooms where they would do some of these cadaver labs. And I was like, that's gross. Why don't we have like this awesome facility where you walk in and you're like, whoa, this place is cool. And in the back is the best labs in the world. And so seeing that over and over, the repetitiveness of not a very good surgeon, not a good place to go do any kind of training, no real industry supporting this. And then seeing the medical device industry wanting to train these physicians, dying to train these physicians, not finding the right place to do it, just kind of all congealed together. I was like, well, hold on a second. What if I build my own facility?
Yeah.
You hear about doctors opening up bars and restaurants and they fail within a year. I'm like, why are you doing that? Stay in your lane, do what you know
Like,
best. This is my lane. It's healthcare. It's surgery. It's the operating room. That's what I do every day of my life. So that's kind of how all the impetus is kind of put together to build what it is.
that's amazing. And such a visionary mind you have, because the fact that this has never been done before, you said you're one of nobody else, and that you said, let's do it. I mean, that's very much blazing a trail like nothing else.
It was fun convincing people because we're a private organization. We're not state run.
Hmm
We don't have any grants. We have no city money. This is me and about 23 investors that I had to sit
hmm
down one at a time. So of the 24 investors, I think I brought 23 of them in. So I have two of the
Mm,
co-founders, but more silent co-founders. But bringing people in and convincing them that what you're talking about is a great idea, and that what I can build, and that I'm going to go get an SBA loan, and I'm going to raise 3 million in Series A, and I'm going to put all this together, and I have this vision of building this place. It took a while. I mean, I used to even use VR helmets. I would put it on their head and have the architectural design on there so they could actually spin around and
wow.
see what this room would look like in this building I'm in right now. Because it was nothing but literally, it looked like two football fields that were empty warehouse. And I'm trying to show them how the operating room will look like here and how the lounge will look like here. So I use VR for that. That helped out a lot for them to see what they're putting their
Yeah.
money into. But convincing people to give their money up is not easy. I was told by one
Yeah.
of my entrepreneurial buddies that the hardest thing you'll ever do is raise money. And I thought, oh, this will be easy. It's the hardest thing I've ever done.
I've never heard anybody say that this will be easy of all the people that I've talked to, but that's sometimes what you need to know to go forward, right? It's like sometimes it's like when you're younger, it's like, good thing I didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean it's tough, but I attribute some of my entrepreneurship to my father. He would always get on my tail about complaining about something. He's like, buddy, if you're going to complain about that, well, go do it yourself and figure out a solution. Don't sit there and
Mm-hmm.
complain. Go do something, go start something, go run for that class president, whatever it is that you're going to complain about, and go make the change. And so this is the same thing. At first, I was like, man, these surgeons aren't so good. What can we do? I don't want to work with that surgeon. Well, that's a complaint. What's the solution? The solution is making them
Mm-hmm.
better and offer them a kind of a equal spot where they don't feel like their ego's being attacked, that you're not so hot, but
Mm-hmm.
more of a kind of very comfortable area to kind of relearn and get better. And so the solution was, let's build something private that's fun. I mean, we have two bars here. When you walk in, it looks
I,
like a
s-
nightclub.
I actually saw that. I was like, are they just like chilling, having a drink in between? I think it's great.
Well, yeah, it's like a coffee bar lounge at the beginning in the morning where I have to feed all these people. Like, there's 200 people. You got to feed them first, and then you got to take them into your didactic or lecture rooms. So we have these beautiful lecture rooms with big time AV and everything, and we can put a stage up. We can do panel discussions, and then when they're all done with being taught what to do, then they walk back to the locker rooms, change in the scrubs, and then go into the labs. And the labs look like operating rooms without walls. So I have
Mhm.
38 stations, which is, like I said, probably the largest in the US when it comes to private labs. There are some medical schools or universities that have millions and millions of dollars. They can build some pretty big fancy ones, but only their students and residents are allowed to use it. The outside can't really use it.
Wow.
And that was another philosophy, is we need to be like Switzerland. We can't say yes to Stryker and no to Medtronic. We have to have,
Mm.
we can't put up their logos everywhere and then have another group come in and say, well, why are their logos up? So our place is very much like neutral Switzerland. You come in, it's the same kind of colors. There's no logos up. You can put them up temporarily during your day and you can take them down.
Mm-hmm.
So building that kind of niche, neutral, very chic. I talk about the Ritz Carlton approach. You walk in, it's like
Yeah.
red carpet to walk in. It's beautiful, cutlery and beautiful glasses and everything. Great
Mm-hmm.
lecture rooms, comfortable leather seats. And then when you're finished at the end of the day, we pull out a bottle of wine and let them have a drink and let them relax if they had a
Yeah.
really stressful day. So it's almost like putting on a wedding. Like every single
Mm.
Friday, Saturday, we're putting on another wedding
It's
because
every Friday and Saturday you're doing this.
every Friday, Saturday, and then they're scattered random Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesdays too in there. And so it's a lot. And there's 5 full-time employees and like 40 part-time employees. So it's quite the operation.
Wow. Yeah, that is the operation. I have so many questions. I think my mind is going crazy because this is such a different business.
Sure.
But I love it. First, okay, you said you have 23 investors. How much did you have to raise? And then how long did it take until the doors actually opened?
Yeah, great question. The doors opened June of 2019. I started raising capital probably a year before, so sometime in 2018. To build that capital, we put our own initial investments of maybe 50,000 a piece to get like an architect, start doing design, start getting a real
Mm.
estate agent, start finding a place. Because I needed to almost find a place, design the place on paper to go
Yeah.
up to an investor and say, this is what it's going to look like. I tried at first to just kind of let them imagine what I was thinking, but it was hard to get in this crazy head of mine.
Hmm.
And so that was a difficult sell. I tried kind of more professional investors also, and they were kind of like, I don't get this, and I don't understand where my ROI is going to come from, and I just didn't understand healthcare. I
Mm-hmm.
went back to my friends and family that understand healthcare, my surgeons that I work with, healthcare administrators, those kind of people, and they were like, "This makes total sense." And so it took me about a year. We raised 2.5 million from Series A, and then we did a 2.8 SBA loan, a small business administration loan. So we had about almost close to $5 million, and that was enough to build, then get all the FF&E, the fixtures, furniture, and
Mm-hmm.
equipment. I mean, this is not cheap when you buy an operating table. They're like 20,000 a piece, and the OR like 5,000 a piece, and I have 38 stations. The X-ray machines that come and take an X-ray of your leg, those are 150,000 a piece. So our capital investment was pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have 32,000 square feet, but luckily we're in an industrial flex place. So it's not like class A office space that's like 40, 50
Mm-hmm.
bucks a square foot. Ours is like 16, 17 bucks a square foot. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one really smart move I made is you don't have to be in the CBD, the Central Business District. You don't have to be right next to the medical school. You just have to be in a safe environment where from the airport to downtown, we're right in the middle. So as they fly in, they come by, then they keep on going downtown and party at their little fancy JW Marriotts
Wow.
overnight and come back Saturday morning, and then they go right to the airport. So we set ourselves geographically in a really nice place. The
Yeah.
the burn rate's not as bad. So between the lease, the loan, and all the payments for employees and those kind of things, we found something that works.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly we could do better. We have some low utilization dates, our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sometimes we sit open. So we've been
Mm.
smart enough to flex into the film industry. A lot of places want
Oh,
healthcare oriented backgrounds. Uh,
oh, smart.
so, yeah,
That's really smart. Yeah. So
yeah.
you mentioned ROI. What can I ask? What would be your ROI, or what is it for something like this? Since how does that work?
So for our Series A investors, we put an 8% return every year, no matter what. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
either accrue and sit there in an account, and if we get certain past debt service ratios, then we can start paying out each year. So they've all built up their 8%. We did another Series A2 that we had a 10% return on. So those people all have that. The real ROI for us is to grow this because what we've built here is amazing. Our clients, every time they walk in and one of the folks will say, I've been doing medical education skills labs for 15 years, and not a single group has ever done it like you guys. Y'all are the best,
Mm-hmm.
period, in the world. I've done them in different countries. I've done them all across the US. And we hear that repeatedly over and over. And I always ask them, I was like, why? Because I've got a fancy place? Is it because my employees? Is it the quality of the tissue is good? He's like, it's all of it. He goes, the minute you walk in, your environment is like relaxing, comforting, professional. When you get to
Mm-hmm.
the back, it's like James Bond lab. You got everything we need. You're doing cool things. You're giving us ideas that we never thought about. You're even looking at the biometrics of our surgeons. Is surgeon number one at station one uncomfortable because he keeps them backing up, or his heart rate's too high and his breathing rate's too high, or is he sweating because he's not comfortable? Or is surgeon two at the other table? She's laughing it up, having a great time doing the surgery without a problem because she's comfortable. So what's going on at station
Mm-hmm.
two that's not going on at station one? So we try to give them that feedback, and they're like, nobody ever does that. They
Wow.
just they just say, here's the room, call me in 8 hours, and give me my check for renting the place out. So we really try to set ourselves apart, and I think that's truly helped with.
It becomes really a teaching lab. So
Oh yeah.
someone, whether it be you or someone else, is are watching, I guess whoever's, for lack of a better word, renting the
Hmm.
facility, because I'm sure it's costs to come in there, and that's how you're making your
Correct.
cash flow. They're not just saying, here, go. They're it's a teaching while they're practicing.
Yeah, I mean, there's an art to all this, right? And it's
Uh-huh.
just, once again, my sports analogies. You watch a golfer hit a golf ball, but then they slow it down, slow motion, and they're like, look where his hips are, and look where his arms are. And same thing here. Well, why is that surgeon stooped over so much and hurting his neck and back? Why is he or she not standing up more straight? Oh, because the surgical table is too low, or because of this. It's just simple things. But once you correct these things, it's like, wow, well, that's a lot easier for me to do. And so
Mm-hmm.
we look at all these. We have cameras all around, so we can kind of almost do like analysis. And
Mm-hmm.
if they want that type of consulting feedback from us, we set up a package for them. And then there's some that are like, we got this, doc. We don't need you to give us any feedback. We're going to do our thing. We've been doing this for a while. And I'm like, that's no problem. I'm not going to try to
Yeah.
shove the project down you if you don't care for it. So we really go that extra distance, and we try to work with our device partners and our physicians on there are better ways to learn, and that what you learned 5 years ago and your technique from 5 years ago has a lot of subtleties that have improved. And we see so many different people, and without spreading people's intellectual property, we're able to at least give you feedback as to maybe you should look at this or maybe you should look at that. And
Yeah.
it seems to help our clients. They seem to like it a lot.
You mentioned earlier, and I want to circle back to it, how you approach people to come. How, tell me about that. Like, how have you gotten past hey, you might want to come and practice?
Yeah, the physicians. So at first we went towards the physicians and try to get them to come, and it was a little too much ego. The best acquisition of our clients is our medical device partners. So we engage
Mhm.
Stryker, right? And Stryker has 15 divisions under, I'm making a number up, but a lot of divisions, orthopedic division, a cardiac division, spine division. So you get a hold of their medical education coordinators and you tell them, hey, we're not just your typical BioSkills lab. There are plenty of little typical BioSkills labs in strip centers and random places that just have like 2 or 3 stations and like 5 or 10 docs going at a time. We tell them this is an all-encompassing facility. The parking is right there. You don't have to go in a parking garage. You come in, it's all secure, locks. If we want to lock doors down, nobody can come in. And once they start seeing our process and the way we do things and the quality of our tissue and our workmanship and our employees really are the key. I mean, they're always like, these are really trained healthcare providers. They're surgical techs that work at hospitals. They're nurses that work at hospitals. They're X-ray technicians. And myself as an anesthesiologist, I know the operating room. Um, the hosts, or I would say the majority of BioSkills labs are owned by business owners that have never been in healthcare. And so I always tell them you can go there and they're not going to know anything about your procedure. Whereas I did that procedure yesterday in the operating room. I know what you're talking about. And I think they appreciate that too. So
Mhm.
bringing and acquiring those clients, different avenues, but the device manufacturers have been our biggest supporters. We're still
Mhm.
trying to convince the hospitals. Surgeons are starting to learn now, like, hey, I want to learn this. So they'll all the device companies
Mm.
say, I want you to take me to Met to Market and teach me how to do this. And they're happy to do it because that's another
Yeah,
unit they're going to move, right? So everybody wins again.
that's good. Wow. So you're still working as an anesthesiologist, if I say that correctly. Then,
You got it.
uh, and then running this amazing company with a great team. You're very busy. What does all of this do for you? Why do all of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. My 3 boys, I've got a 21-year-old, 19-year-old, and a 13, about to be 14-year-old. They ask the same thing. They're like, Dad, you're crazy. They're like, you're always busy, but somehow you're still our soccer coach and you still show up to our band
Mm,
recitals and you're still taking trips with us. And my philosophy has always been I hate the status quo and I hate being bored, but I'm not
mm,
silly enough to chase the almighty dollar where I'm going to work 90 hours a week in the hospital and kill myself so I can make a little bit more money. Um, I took a pay cut to be the CEO here of Met to Market because I'm not in the operating room 5, 6 days a week.
mhm.
I don't take call on the weekends anymore on purpose so I can be with my kiddos. I'm able to juggle because I have good staff around me and good colleagues around me to be able to say, listen, I got to go to the state capitol tomorrow because there's a new Senate bill that I got to make sure gets amended correctly so it doesn't affect our business. You guys got
Mm,
this, and they're like, we got it. So having great people around you really makes it better. And anything that I do, I own another company that actually is where you donate your bodies to science. And so it works in
wow.
synergy with Met to Market. So Lifetree Anatomical is my other company that I run. And so people donate there and then we bring the donated bodies here to be used. So they're synergistic, same lane again, and a lot of overlap, but same thing, great staff, great people, sticking with your philosophies of always pushing harder than everybody else. But I love being busy. It's fun. I think I would get bored and out of shape
Yeah.
and all that stuff if just sat at home where I just did the 8 to 5 same job.
Well, and then the fact that you said I don't do it to chase the dollar, that is what I have found with interviewing a lot of guests is really what leads to not really burning out because you have a bigger why and a
Mm.
bigger mission.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I see so many of my buddies that are in the hospitals working themselves to death. They're on their third or fourth spouse and they don't know their kids very
Mm.
well, and they just don't seem very happy, even though they have a much bigger house and fancier cars than I do. I'm happy with my little sedan that is a hybrid and nothing
Yeah.
fancy, and I enjoy playing my little golf on the weekends if I can, and I I like to have fun, but I'll take that pay cut to
Yeah.
do what I'm doing. Don't get me wrong. I would love for someone to show up and say, "Hey, we're going to give you $100 million for your company," and I can retire. That any entrepreneur would say that's stupid if you didn't think that way. You always want to grow. You always want to do
Hmm.
better on your EBITDA. You always want to push cash flows. And so that's also a big draw because my investors would love to see us build 5 of these, roll it
Mm.
up with other ones that are out there that are B minus, but with our philosophy can become A plus, and then have something that's running the entire nation, and then go international too. There's lots of
Wow.
incredible companies that don't have this in their countries at all. So to be able to provide that elite medical education to other countries would be something I think a private equity would
Yeah.
be very interested in looking at. So that's a end game for the business side of things and part of that ROI you asked earlier.
Hmm. Well, and that leads me to the end game. My next question was going to be, where do you see the company and yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? And it sounds like one of those goals is to duplicate what you're already doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've built so many metrics, SOPs, things that are replicatable, right? We had one run with a private equity group a few years back, which was great. We ended up not doing it, but they taught us a lot about if you want to sell this and you want to grow this, all these things have to be done and all these metrics need to be showed and your growth plan and all those kind of things. So it really helped us kind of refocus us to what does it look like to
Mm.
grow and scale. And I think we've gotten to the part where we know the magic sauce. We know exactly how to do it. We know exactly how to execute. We now have the supply, in essence, owned by us too. Um, we're really poised at a position now of let's find geographically 3 or 4 more places that would work for what we do and the
Hmm.
size we do, and then maybe take over a couple of the ones that are maybe not doing as well and need or struggling, and then bring in a ton more education. I mean, the medical education is a $4.4 billion industry a year,
Wow.
and people don't know that. And so to get a piece of the surgical part of it and that last mile of it, people ask about what percentage of this entire market you can take. Even if I take 1%, I would be a very happy person with 1%
Yeah.
of that 4.4 billion. So,
Yeah.
that's where we see our growth because of the way we do it and how we do it. Um, there's not a lot of competitors in this field that do it the way we do it, but there's at least 100 of the BioSkills labs that
Mm.
you will never hear about because they're very small and regional. We kind of want to roll that all up into more bigger, Southwest, Northeast US, coast, Midwest kind of thing, where
Yeah.
people don't have to fly very far and then get there on a nonstop flight, yet still get this elite training we offer here, and
Hmm.
continue to push that envelope.
Wow. It's incredible. And I have to ask for the audience. I'm probably not the only one wondering, do you have a 1-800 hotline for patients that need to know which doctor to go
Yeah, it's funny.
to?
I'm always thinking of crazy companies to start. One of my funny websites was who would your anesthesiologist go to.com. And it'd be like an Angie's List. You get on there, pay 10
Yeah.
bucks a month. And then you would say, hey, Dr. Ali, if I was in Austin and my kid broke his arm, who should I
Where would I
take it to?
go?
Who's a pediatric orthopedic surgeon that knows what the heck they're doing? Well, we actually know that. And
Yeah.
so would be a very interesting 1-800 number to have.
Yeah. And
But
a goal for the doctors of like, I want to be on that list, so I'm going to be better.
that's exactly right. And we actually, I mean, we really actually literally ran down this whole rabbit hole of how would you rate people. And we never wanted to rate anybody negatively. We
Mm.
would ask all the device reps, nurses, surgical techs, anesthesiologists, nurse anesthetists, who would you go to? And it would only be positive. So the positive people float the top 3 or 4. And if your name's not on the list, try harder.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
nobody said Dr. X is bad. It just said Dr.
Right.
A is really good. So we
Yeah.
like that positive spin. I don't like negative companies or
No.
bashing. I like positive, good, wholesome. This is why, and
Good.
here are the reasons why. So I wish I could do
Yeah.
that. I think I need another
I'd
mini
call
me to
it.
do that.
I'd call the 1-800 number for sure.
Right?
Okay.
There's lots of
Well,
times.
what's your exit strategy, in the next 5 to 10 years? We know what we want to do with the business, but
Sure.
where do you fit in that?
So if we take this nationally and there's multiple sites or nodes across the US, I'd like to be the national CEO for about 2 to 3 years and just kind of make sure all
Mhm.
the sites are humming and that the site executive directors can do it on their own. It's more
Mhm.
oversight from the board of directors. And then I'd like to move to the board of director position and help consult where I'm working maybe 20 to 30 hours a week, where I'm just kind of consulting and also helping out other device companies or educational platforms as to how you improve your educational system itself. I'm also building a big STEM program for
Oh,
underprivileged and underserved areas. So we bring high school students here who have never, ever in their lives been into an operating room or much less seen a cadaver. And at an
wow.
appropriate level of ninth grade and above, we'll tell them it's not just about being a doctor. You can be a nurse, you can be a tech, you can be an administrator, you can be a device rep. So we have actually those people come and talk to them for the first few minutes. And then we gown them up and put them in scrubs. And we actually show like a knee being cut open, what a total knee replacement would look like, and like
Mm.
walk them through the steps. And it sounds kind of like, ooh, is that a little too much for, 10th grade, 11th grade?
They
The
need to know if they
smiles,
want to.
the smiles on these kids' faces, and sure, some of them are like, ooh, that's icky, but then they all want to touch. But you're teaching them anatomy,
Mm.
physiology, but at the same time, innovations and like cool entrepreneurship. Like
Mm.
this robotic company is $1 billion company because it knows how to open your knee up and do the surgery for the doctor while the doctor sits in that corner. And then we let them do laparoscopic surgery in a cardboard box where they have to pick up like Legos and put them on
Oh,
top of
wow.
things. And they're like, wow, so this is what a laparoscopic surgeon does. And once they get through the stations, I mean, they're giddy. And we do a pre and
Mm.
post survey and they're just so excited about it. And I'm like, okay, I've always done charity things. I've done like 5 charity golf tournaments over my career. And I was like, boy, that would be a really cool way to finish it. Being on some boards, doing a little consulting and running a STEM program at all my
Mm.
facilities across the US where one of the things you're doing is you are bringing in students and you will do it for free. You're not going to charge these kids, or we'll find sponsors or grants to write for. And we're going to expose these kids to some of the coolest things
Yeah.
ever. And I have a feeling we can make a true shift into someone who may be going into alcohol and drugs and not want to care about
Mm.
school to, you know what? I saw that guy's lungs and he smokes, and we literally will pull lungs out and hand it to them and hold it. And they see all the black marks on it. And they're like, "What's that from, doctor?" And you're like, "That's from smoking." They're like, "I'm never vaping again."
Mhm.
I think our
Mhm.
anti-cancer prevention here at our
No
facilities
kidding.
10 times more than that's your brain on,
I was about to say it's
right?
better than the
Remember
egg in a skillet. Yeah.
that agony skillet, right? Ours is like, actually, this is what your heart looks like if you're eating, 15 hamburgers a day. Look at all the calcification
Oh,
on the arteries. And they're like,
yeah.
what does that mean? I'm like, does I have a heart attack? And then they see
Mm.
it and then they get it because they've seen the insides. Or look, if you don't treat your body well and you're not working out, you try to make a hard left and you pop your ACL. Do you even know what
Mm.
popping your ACL means or tearing your ACL? So we
Yeah.
show them and they're like, oh, so it makes a big
Yeah.
difference. And so that would be probably one of the coolest riding in the sunset things for me. It's
Yeah.
like I've got thousands of kids across the US every year going through my STEM program,
That's amazing.
and they're shooting out
Yeah.
to whatever. There may be innovators, entrepreneurs, doctors, I don't care. But we gave them a little double bounce on the trampoline to go the right
Yeah.
direction.
That's amazing. I have a 10-year-old daughter who's already been saying for at least 3 years, I want to be a nurse because she has, and really it comes from wanting, she has such a servant's heart and it's sweet. Of course, she's my daughter, so I think she's the
Sure,
best.
sure.
But she is, and that did not come from me because a lot of things you said, I'm already cringe. I cringe. She's like, I just want to help. And so to get kids in there to see what it's really like, I think is incredible and a great legacy.
Yeah, I think that would be a really cool way to just kind of put it all together and say, I did it my way, like the old Frank Sinatra song, I did it my way. And
Yeah.
I pushed the envelope, but I talk about this greenness of a company. Everything coming into my company is good. People who donate their bodies to science, they're good people. They're doing it for an
Mm.
incredible effect, right? What we do with these bodies and these surgeons and device companies that learn, what a great thing. What those doctors do when they go out and take care of their patients, what a great thing. And then when those patients live longer and do better, what a great thing. And if I can round it all up with how do I get the next generation of doctors, nurses, and techs to come up by providing it to people who would never get a chance, I think I've got a pretty green,
Yeah,
cool thing going on here, and
for
it's
sure.
kind of a heartwarming story that it's not like, wow, Aaron became a multimillionaire and everybody else lost, right?
Mm.
I created fat kids because I was feeding them hamburgers. No, this is a truly great company that just spits out awesomeness all the time, and so
Yeah.
hard to walk away from it. But that's how I see it kind of finishing up the next 5 years.
I love that. What a great innovator you are, and really just a testament to being able to blaze a trail, do something new, and still have a balance of life. I think that's an incredible testimony that you still have three boys that say thanks, Dad.
Yeah,
Really
I'm
good.
lucky. I'm very lucky.
For sure, for sure. I love it. Well, are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
All right. This is a good one, and I love this one. What is the key to success, do you think, for you?
Oof, I make my bed every morning. I it
Really?
I roll out, and I was in the military for 6 or 7 years a
Mm,
long time ago, and I roll out, I make my bed, and I feel good about it. And then it's like, all right,
mhm.
let's take the shower, let's get going. And I work out, try to run around the lake every day if I can. And so just getting that early morning correct start, I just
Yeah,
think it sets precedence for the rest of the day. And even if crappy things happen during the day, you're kind of like, you know what, I've already got my workout in, my bed's going to be clean when I get home, and I feel pretty good inside. I think it's going to be fine.
yeah, yeah. And you always get a new day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What would you say is the one piece of advice that you like to give to other business owners or like yourself, innovators?
Yeah, no, it's so, one is kind of a negative thing that's if you're going to have co-founders, these co-founders need to put the same hard work
Mm,
and time in as you do. If they're going to be silent, don't give them much of the percentage, like
mm,
5% max, but don't go thirds when they're going to continue doing their practices and not help out. So that's a kind of a more of like a business one-on-one principle that I would
it's
say to any
good.
entrepreneur is don't share anything with anyone who's not going to have the same heart and soul and time commitment as you are.
Yeah.
And then number two, never take no for an answer. I have
Mm,
gotten so many no's in my life, and I've been told, well, you're just a doctor, you don't know anything about business, and there's no way you didn't do this, you didn't go to Harvard, whatever. I just kind of roll my eyes inside without them knowing, and I smile real big, and then I triple push to make sure I beat what they said I couldn't do.
yeah, I like that. This supposed to be rapid fire, but I have a follow-up question now. With because you talked, you just said about having the same heart with the co-founders, and you have 23 investors. Did you give different stake into the company?
No, the investors, we set aside a certain percentage of the company, and
You
we just
did
said
say,
we're going to
okay,
we're going to raise this much,
you
and
said
that's
that,
what
yeah.
that percentage is, and that's it. And then the co-founders kind of split the other 3%
Yeah.
thirds up between them.
There's three co-founders.
That's
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
that's amazing. All right, book or podcast, what are you reading or listening to right now?
Oh gosh. So book, I literally have sitting here on my desk, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's just a cool book because my lawyer and my CFO are always like, before you answer, there's times you want to answer fast, but you really want to think slow about it, right? I
Mm,
sometimes my negative side maybe fire off the hip a little too quick, just because I have so much stuff going on in my head that I need to sometimes think it out slower. You'll get through
yeah.
it fast, but think it out nice and slow in your head. So that book has been pretty cool. And then Malcolm Gladwell's books, I love his books. The whole, why are the Beatles the Beatles, and why is Michael Jordan Michael Jordan? What was it? Is it
Yeah.
genetics? Is it time? Is it effort put in? And I do believe in a lot of that. That I can't remember, is it the 20,000 hour rule or whatever the rule was,
Oh,
and
yeah.
how much effort you have to put in to truly be one of the
Mm,
incredible people in your field. So I love those authors and those books.
cool. I love hearing all the different books that people recommend. I got a long list.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. All right. If you had a little bit of magic dust and you could put it anywhere in your business, where would you sprinkle it?
Oh boy, magic dust for our company. It's hard to explain people what I do sometimes. So I
Mhm.
think the magic dust would be more on the like elegantly telling the story a little bit more on the marketing part of it.
Mm,
When people are like, "You're the dead body guy," and I'm like, "I'm not the dead body guy. I'm not the cadaver guy. I'm the medical innovation educator that's pushing the envelope like nobody else out there." So I think that dust or that magic sprinkle that I would put is just the ability to let people understand more what we do.
hmm
And I think that's getting them in the building. Once they walk in the building, they're like,
mm,
got it. I totally see
yeah.
what you're doing. And so if I could sprinkle that dust to get people in my building, like senators, politicians, school
Mm,
principals, anybody, I think once they walk in, they'll be like, oh my goodness, I had no idea that you
hmm
train the doctors once they finish. You train the high school students who may want to go into medicine. And so for them to see it, so I think
Yeah.
it'd be amazing just have thousands of people lined up every day just to walk in to see and give them a tour and let them walk out and be like,
Yeah.
okay, I got it.
Well, as I think anyone that's had surgery before, that's what clicked with me when you said they're practicing. That tells a story right there. And so I got it for sure. And what you
Yeah.
do is important for absolutely. Yeah. Well, before we get to the last question of the day, share with everyone how maybe they can connect with you. Usually we say hire, but I don't know if that's a thing. But for sure, get to know what Med to Market, go look at your website and then maybe connect with you.
Yeah. So on our website on the medtomarket.com, and it's medto market.com. So people put the two in there and that's not
Mm,
it. So medtomarket.com is our website. On the contact us there, my email's there. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm all over LinkedIn. Those are kind of my two platforms that I use. Um, we're always hiring people that are amazing that can take this business to the next level. Uh, Not to say that if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, I got something that's a huge medical education type program and we will gobble you up and we want to bring you up to here," that'd be very interesting to me to be able to get to
mm,
that goal and that end goal that we talked about earlier faster with someone who's got a deeper pocketbook than just my little company.
mm.
But yeah, that's how you get a hold of me and our company. And like I said, I'm all over the
Yeah,
social platforms. You can easily get a hold of me.
it's awesome. Well, I love it so much. And this last question, and I love asking as our final question, I think you're going to have a good one, but what is inspiring you today?
I look at my kiddos, my my three boys. Sorry.
Hmm.
Um, I want them to look at me and be inspired,
Hmm.
and I think I have. Um, but then I feel bad about other families that don't have that ability. So I want to give them all a chance. I really do. Um, I think I get emotional about it because I see so many kids that are just failing. I can almost look across the street at the high school, and it's sad to me. I'm like, boy, just give me a week with that kiddo. So the the youth really inspire me to try harder, to
Yeah.
to really push them that they can really do this. Because I grew up dirt poor. I was on welfare. I had free lunch
Mm,
tickets. I thought everybody did. And so when I was told there's no way you can be a doctor or there's no way you can even go to college, I was like, baloney. So I pushed hard, but I got lucky because my parents were educated enough. But when
mm.
I see others, it blows me away. So, my kiddos are doing great. They've taken advantage of their resources, but I want them to be able to look at me and say, "Man, Dad did a good job." So
And
that
I'm
inspires
sure,
me.
yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm sure they do every day. They do every day. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your heart and
Yeah,
your story. It was really, really special. I just loved having you on the show. It was a great conversation and really just inspiring to me, and I'm sure all of our listeners, to hear that we can be innovators and blaze a trail and just to get up and go do it.
yeah.
Don't
Well, I
take no
appreciate
for
you
an
having me on
answer.
here. That's exactly right. Thanks for having me on here. It was a great conversation. Be happy to join back anytime you ask me to.
Oh, thank you. Well, once again, don't forget everyone that's listening to like and subscribe so that you don't miss a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. But thanks for joining us today. But a special thank you to Dr. Erin Ali. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Heather.
Bye bye. See y'all next time.